In today's video, I'm going to give you guys a review of the Freewell anamorphic and wide angle set for the DJI Mini 3 Pro. Full disclosure, I have been sent this pack from Freewell. However, they've given me a license to say what I do and don't like about the product, and it's not a sponsored video. And I've also bought in the past Freewell filters myself, ND filters, so I do like what the company do. Now there are some downsides to the pack, particularly more with the wide angle lens, so I'm going to talk about those as well. So we're not creating an unrealistic review here, where I'm going to be open and say some of the drawbacks. But overall, I'm really impressed with this. With anamorphic lenses, what this does is it squeezes the footage to fit in with your 16:9 ratio. So you're squeezing it in, and then in editing afterwards, I'll show you towards the end, it's very easy to do. You then de-squeeze the footage, and that's when the magic happens, okay? And I personally much prefer the anamorphic lens in this pack to the wide angle lens. It's just lovely to have genuine anamorphic footage. Do you want to create that sort of blockbuster look where you get the car lights heading towards you? I have some tips at the end of the video about how to do that. And that's when this really shines, having those blue light streaks. I've been taking this pack around. Yesterday I went to Liverpool, and it's amazing to be able to film at a place that I filmed before. The footage already looked good on the Mini 3 Pro, and I've done it with the normal lens, but you've just got that different perspective, and you just start to see your footage looking a little bit more like a film. This clock here, this was actually used in Robert Pattinson's Batman film. Now this pack comes with ND filters as well, and it's super easy just to clip on top your ND filters. There are some issues potentially, but I found a solution, so don't worry guys, with the mounting. I don't really like how Freewell recommend to do it. I found my own way, which I think is better. Obviously do it at your own risk. So the method that I found that works is just have the normal lens cover that DJI give you with the drone. Now be very careful with this, do this at your own risk, okay? Just very lightly but firmly hold the gimbal in place, take that off, and you already have the ND filter clipped on here to the anamorphic, so just do that separately first, and then just very carefully apply that whilst the drone's already on, okay? And that for me, that is much better than applying the anamorphic and then trying to clip on this. DJI actually make their own version for the Mini 3 Pro of the wide angle lens, but you can't attach your ND filters, whereas with this pack you can do. So that is a big plus for Freewell. With your normal lens on the DJI Mini 3 Pro, you've got an 82.1 degree field of view. Now with the wide angle lens, 111 degrees field of view. So there is quite a big difference. The one that got me, you know, is going from your normal shot. Now this is just my local neighbourhood, and we all can all get a bit bored filming in our local neighbourhoods, don't we, and all think to ourselves, I'm just bored of flying around the garden and seeing the same old things. I couldn't believe the difference between this and then going to the anamorphic. I think it's partly the psychological thing of seeing the black bars, but bear in mind with this, guys, this isn't fake anamorphic. You know how people do a lot on YouTube where they add in the black bars. So with the wide angle lens, you will notice in some of these shots, like at 20 meters, 50 meters and 100 meters, there's a little bit of softness in the corners, so that might put some people off. I think this is going to have limited use, to be fair. I think maybe property could be useful. Particularly with the wide angle lens, there is some distortion. So this is going to be more noticeable at different altitudes. I'm generally not a big fan of the fisheye look. So that's something to, you know, like the old GoPro or even the old Phantom 2. Some of you guys, some of you OGs might remember that. Now, bear in mind that with your drone shots, it's not going to be so noticeable. So you can see these tests where you use these shots like and you see a wall, and then it's going to be very noticeable. But generally speaking, with your drone shots, when you're at higher altitude, it's not going to be as noticeable. And something I'd also bear in mind, guys, is we do tend to be more critical of our own work. Pay attention to documentaries whenever you see them on Netflix and everything. And I was watching one the other night, and I was seeing a time lapse of the stars on a wide angle lens. And when you're looking for these things, you'll see on these shots the distortion. Normally when you're watching them, you're just going to see a beautiful time lapse. So we do tend to be overly critical of our own work and worry about these things too much. So if you're getting stunning shots, having a little bit of distortion. Even on some films, you know, you see these things, the beautiful light streaks, and the light streaks can be slightly distorted. Now, something I don't particularly like, and I've seen on other reviews, is when they use this anamorphic lens and go out in the middle of the day and film into the sunshine and you see the streaks then. I think that looks a little bit unnatural. Now, the good news about this is that doesn't happen that often, because you know, you're purposely looking for that and you're lining up straight with the light source. So if you just want to capture normal shots, you know, overcast weather, even in sunshine, you know, you're filming down, you're not going to have that issue. I know they always say in tutorials, make sure you focus, but let's be honest, sometimes if we forget, the Mini 3 Pro does a really good job of just focusing it for us. I have found in a couple of shots using the anamorphic lens, when I forgot to tap the focus, the shot was out of focus. Now, you tap the focus and the shot will be fine. So bear that in mind when you're testing these. If you do get this out, you might forget to focus and think your footage looks terrible. Do remember to focus as you start your flight, okay? I would have liked there to be an ND8. You know, there is a space there, tantalizing space, where there could have been ND8 and they've actually left it out. So I think that ND8 would have been nice. You've got an ND256, which I'm probably not going to use. I know there might be some uses, maybe time lapses, for getting, you know, the motion blur and that sort of thing, for having a very strong ND filter. But for the type of filming I do more, I would have preferred to have the ND8, and I think having the space there, and bearing in mind this is a fairly expensive pack. Now, I do think when you think about generally anamorphic lenses and wanting to create that film look, I think the pack's actually fairly priced. Remember, this just isn't normal ND filters. This is effectively giving you a new lens. At the moment, there's obviously a lot of hype about the Air 3, DJI Air 3, and one of the main things for that is having the extra lens. Picking up this pack, you're effectively giving yourself a new lens for the drone and just opening up new possibilities and just creating a whole new look. When I've been doing the shots using the car lights, give you some tips with this, guys. I found it's best if you're level with the car. So you can either fly the drone low and keep it on level. Now, be very careful and think very hard about the location that you do this at. Or what I found works really well, I did it the other day in Liverpool, is just to hold the drone, just to find a nice spot where, you know, the pavement curves out a little bit. I did it at this spot here, and then effectively you have the cars almost coming towards you. And then you can capture some beautiful light streaks. Quick tutorial how to go from this, which looks like garbage old GoPro footage, to this, which is starting to look something a little bit more like a movie. So first thing we do, I'm going to do some Final Cut Pro, but you can do any video editing software for these steps. Click on Scale Y, 84 and enter. That de-squeezes the footage. Already it's looking a lot better. Now I want to have the color board here, and exposure, we need to get this right, so I'm going to crush the blacks, but then also boost the mid-tones. Okay, and just lower that down a little bit there. This does help to get rid of some of the noise as well, but then you do also want to see just a bit more detail in the mid-tones. And then go to saturation and boost the saturation. I don't like to go all the way to the top for these shots, but I think somewhere near the top looks good. And then what I do is add color wheels, because I'm not really happy with the look of this. This is a little bit of a color grade here, just to lower the temperature here. About 4,000 roughly, there we go. And tint, now this is suddenly looking good to me. I like the look of that. And then, if you do have neat noise reduction, this makes a huge difference to how your footage looks. Okay, so what I'll do with this is go to options window on neat noise reduction. And you want to find like an area that's relatively even. So I'm going to select this bin here and click build profile and apply. Okay, now this just looks so much better, and there we go. Sometimes it pays to go against the herd mentality. When everyone's on their phone making these vertical videos and getting hooked on that, this takes you back to just creating more of a film look, and I think that's what's really special about these filters. And what I've done recently is taking inspiration from films. What I do is, if I sometimes watch a film, I'll take a shot of that on my phone. I did this with a Denzel Washington film, Fallen. Now, I'm nowhere near as good an actor or as handsome as Denzel Washington. I don't have as cool a background as he does in the film. You know, I'm not on the same sort of budget. But it is an interesting exercise to play around with different lighting effects and practicing that. With this, your footage on your normal camera, you've got a choice of either getting another anamorphic lens, or what you can do is create those sort of fake black bars. So on Final Cut Pro, what you want to do is go to trim and then just go to 173 and just drag those black bars down. And I think it looks okay. You know, you are kind of creating a fake look, but then again, that's what I love about this, because this creates true anamorphic footage. One thing I've noticed on the anamorphic lens is it does seem to pick up a little bit more dirt than, now maybe it's just that you see it better because you've got the blue across here, so maybe we just need to wipe our lenses and be more diligent with that, but that's something to definitely factor in mind. Now, I did with a lens cloth manage to get rid of them, but you maybe want to consider taking out a bit of cleaning solution with yourselves as well when you go out with this. But this pack is really good, and the pros definitely outweigh the cons. You know, the main con I would say would be the wide angle lens just doesn't look quite as good as the anamorphic, but I'm going to keep it in the bag anyway. It's worth having. I just think it's worth buying this, if only for the anamorphic lens. If you've just picked up your drone, should you rush out and get these? I would give yourself a little bit of time to just get used to the normal lens to start with. I don't want a beginner to see the shots of the car, you know, these sort of more flashy shots where you need to be a little bit more skilled, really be familiar with your drone. I can see someone seeing this and wow, I've got to get that shot, and then potentially crashing. Let's say for a beginner, I would give this 5 out of 10. I would get your normal ND filters first, but for intermediate, I'm going to give this 9 out of 10 because I really like the product, and I just think that when you get, you know, you've had your drone for a little bit longer, maybe you want to freshen up your footage, I think that's when you're going to be really grateful to doing this. So my general advice is get familiar with your drone first, get familiar with the settings, use your normal lens, and then when you've had it for 6 months or so, then that's when you're really going to enjoy using this. There's a link in the description for these filters if you want to pick them up. Thanks again to Freewell for sending them over, and I've had a lot of fun using them.